Hey, welcome back to Pan Talk. Today we're going to be talking about the Watchmen again. Joining me is Dave, Logan, and Derek. We are now on episode 3.
Episode 3 after a small hiatus due to issues that we aren't going to dive into today.
Why don't you start us off with a kind of a recap of the episode, and we'll go from there.
All right, so this episode, let's just start off with, we have the Silk Spectre, right, guys?
Brought her in pretty early.
Yeah, you have to wait a little while before we start seeing some of these older characters come in, and already here we are.
Then you figure out she's part of the FBI, and I mean, it rolls pretty quick. She meets a senator out there, and you're needed in Tulsa, and last place anybody wants to go is Tulsa. But she goes out there, and the costume that we've been talking about, like for the first 2 episodes, is wondering what the police state's like everywhere else, and you find out in Tulsa it's more of a test market for.
Yeah. So what do you guys think about that? I thought it was kind of interesting. So we're seeing this world, and it's like the whole thing seems almost really dark, and now you're seeing that some of the policemen wearing masks, the vigilantes as being allowed as detectives, basically.
Well, the detectives, yes, but our FBI agent is in charge of tracking
down vigilantes. So it's
which is some irony there too.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting because she's in Tulsa now and trying to figure out what's going on, and she's having to allow these vigilantes, and technically that's her job, is to bust them. So there's a lot of, you feel that resistance.
You can see the friction already and how much she doesn't want to work with these people.
And how much they don't want her there because they've kind of been allowed to, in essence, operate outside the law.
Run roughshod and do whatever the hell they want.
Speaking of law for a second, it makes you kind of wonder, if Tulsa's like the test market for this, how does the laws operate, like constitutional firearms, everything else, on one city versus the rest of the country?
Yeah, it's happening now.
Yeah.
True.
Gun laws vary state to state.
But to that extreme, it makes a big changes.
Yeah, I mean, and you could start seeing that more realistically state to state, depending on how gun laws and things are starting to change. So, I mean, I could see how this could be a snapshot when you start relating it to
states' rights issues.
States' rights issues, to how things actually coalesce with what's going on in the real world.
Yeah.
So she immediately definitely butts heads with Regina King's character. They
don't get along. I think she sees Silk Spectre. I think she sees a little of her and what she used to be, and she's not okay with working with her.
No.
So far.
No.
Yeah.
And I thought it was interesting that the whole time she really is almost putting her in her place. I know who you are. I know who all of you are. I hunt you. I can arrest you in a second. Mm-hmm. And then there's that scene where it almost feels like they're kind of weary of her. And then, Regina King's character at night, she's just like, ooh.
Well, when she just sat there and laid into her for a good 45 seconds to a minute, and her response was just,
ooh, I'm so scared. Yeah, and it's you all of a sudden you start seeing that she's definitely not going to be pushed around.
No.
And I thought it was interesting too that the stuff going on with our good friend Dr. Ozymandias.
Which I find to be the most entertaining part of this series so far. It's all entertaining, but man, every time you get transported to that little land, I mean, it's just what's going to happen next, and it's always fun to check in with him.
It's almost like in the graphic novel where it has the side stories and the different panels where it takes you off to a whole other story. Whenever you're going to see him, it's almost, obviously he's not in Tulsa.
No, we don't have a whole lot of castles here. Muskogee.
Well, there's theories about that, but we can get into that the next episode.
Yeah, but and it was also very interesting, just his whole time he seems like he's been in charge, but now after he shoots the sacred buffalo
out there. Whoever has him out there in paradise or whatever he's been offered, they're not happy with him for going out and going rogue and just shooting random buffalo. And I think he's kind of testing the limits there as to what he can do without getting in trouble.
Well, it was interesting because he's obviously trying to build a suit that can withstand something. Because space is what it seems like to me.
Everybody thinks he's on Mars, which I would think is a pretty decent theory at this point.
Yeah.
Manhattan already, even though he agreed with him in the graphic novel for what he did, I think that maybe he has kind of locked him away to where he can't do that again. Wants to keep an eye on him for fear of him doing something else.
Yeah.
Hence the unlimited clones.
Yeah. But Well, which also would make sense because if you think about it, he said he wanted to go off and make life, and it could be possible that he's made the clones that he's dealing with, and it's not Ozymandias that's created them. But I also thought it was interesting. He's like, I need thicker skin, so he goes and he kills this buffalo, and then one of those guys is literally shooting at him, and
just a warning shot.
But that whole scene with the letter was classic. It was hilarious. It was a nice bit of comic
The retort was even better.
Well,
I'm glad he enjoyed the tomatoes.
These episodes kind of needs, like, towards the end of it, this little bit of relief to kind of bring you back down after just a heavy...
Yeah. It is because it's so heavy, and then it's just like, and I'm glad you like the tomatoes.
He's going to be scared now.
Yeah.
It just seems like that maybe like with the buffalo and the clones and everything that he may be more of a test subject to Manhattan at this point. If that's indeed where he is, and if that's indeed who has him kind of locked up, is it giving him access to the clones and giving him the opportunity to try and figure out how to get off of Mars if that's indeed where he is?
Yeah. Well,
it's interesting that he's giving him this kind of leeway to do that.
And correct me, guys, if I'm wrong, but I don't think there's... Bison are North American only, right?
I'm not entirely sure on that.
So
There's not a whole lot.
The other argument was
there we go.
Was that he was in Argentina? What they said? Oh, it's rumored he's in Argentina.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Argentina's huge beef export, leather, etc. So if there's another place they would be, that part would actually make sense.
Okay.
And they could probably explain away Castle being built. It's an old enough country that...
I mean, the Germans built lots of stuff in Argentina.
Yeah. I mean, it'd have to be special built. It wasn't around medieval times, but I could see it.
Yeah.
You have some large stately like homes even in the U.S. that could almost be considered in that direction.
Yeah.
I guess people chose to build it that way.
Yeah, so, we definitely find him in a very awkward, weird situation, and then we kind of go back to the Silk Spectre and the funeral. The funeral of Jeb, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is Jeb. What a great police
That's
chief
a hell of a
police
That's
name.
a Tulsa, Oklahoma chief of police name right there.
Oh, Jeb.
Jeez. The funeral was interesting. It goes back to that.
Judd.
Is it Judd?
Judd. Oh, okay.
It is Judd.
Judd.
Stand
Jeb.
corrected, Judd. Not quite as catchy as Jeb there, but
It's because we were all wishing it was Jeb.
That's funnier. Well, you can keep calling him that. All right. But it was it was the cavalry that came in there and tried to ruin the funeral, and
and they were going to kidnap the senator, who is actually in charge of this test market where the police are masked and everything.
And he is public enemy number one to the cavalry.
To the cavalry, which it makes sense because now that we know that, I mean, even I'm sitting here thinking this guy's like literally trying to, change the laws of the land. I mean, he really, and it's very scary to think the police have that kind of power.
And if he's going for presidency here and can implement that everywhere. Nobody wants to see that.
Yeah, he's pushing that presidential.
And that is the whole point of this, is it's those ducat points he's trying to earn with the society. Look at how well this works. So he'll have that bid for presidency. Maybe he can beat the old Robert Redford.
And that's why, he brought her in here to kind of keep everything in order for right now and not let everything go haywire. It's going to make him look bad and hurt his presidential bid. Yeah. So...
And so they come in to basically try and kidnap him, and Silk Spectre, just drops him. And I like her whole comment, they never actually used the heart monitor, and she's like, and this guy actually did.
I was wondering what was going to happen there, but hey, man, he was already dead when he dropped the bomb. It was fine. But it was the conversation they had in the crypt there where she was talking to Regina King's character, and she basically told her, this is what I used to do, and I caught people like you, or I was you, and now I'm catching people like you for a living. You don't impress me. And the fact that I'm sure they're going to keep button heads here for the next 2 episodes, and eventually probably work together is my guess. But
we're still getting more questions than answers at this
point.
Yes. Absolutely.
Which is cool. And the last thing I really want to touch on in this episode, and kind of see where you guys all come down on this, is the phone booth. The phone booth. So she, almost like it seemed like a huge part of the episode, she's telling that joke, and it just keeps building. And she basically is saying that, what I took from it is, you're not a god either. You're just a man who got lucky. Is kind of what her joke is. Is like, you're not really better than everybody. You just kind of got lucky.
And she basically ran down the backstory of, 2 or 3 major characters from the graphic novel you may not know much about. She basically kind of, caught you up on a lot of it.
All the characters.
On Night Owl and Manhattan
herself.
herself.
It was a good exposition without being overly forced.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and, it shows that, like, not just her, but anybody can get in this booth and leave a message.
Yeah.
And it kind of hinted there at the very end of the episode that maybe he is actually listening, when...
Maybe, but for listening
Possibly.
to Karen.
Yeah, we get into the next episode here in a minute. And maybe not. That's what I thought, though.
Yeah.
When the card drops, I'm like, right after, it's a pretty big coincidence for him, to not be listening. So I guess anybody can get in there and leave a message for him on his answering machine up there in Mars.
Yeah.
Doesn't say how often she goes into the booth and talks to him. It seems like it'd be kind of a regular thing for her.
Well,
because
did she have a frequent flyer? Miles for a gold patron or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So she spent some time.
She spent some time talking to him without any sort of reply, I guess, for a long time. You can tell she misses him and kind of resents him for what he did and, how long he's been gone. And
it's
a lot of complicated feelings there between...
A lot of all of it. It's not just that he's gone and everything. It's kind of all of it as a whole, you know? And what happened to all of them? Because if you think about it a little bit, is that they were all like a team, and then it all just kind of unraveled and fell apart.
And it was also her first love too, on top of everything. So
she misses the blue.
It's it's going to be kind of tough to top the blue man there. But
but from now on, folks, we should be dropping these every Monday, late Monday night. We shouldn't have any more
Hiccups.
Hiccups. That's a good word for it.
Go.
We shouldn't have any more hiccups.
She's looking to get smurfed.
Yes.
But
Don't forget, right there.
Don't forget to ring that bell, like and subscribe. Keep tuning in to Watching Watchmen. Thanks for watching, guys.